Good evening and welcome to the Northern Gooners Gonna Get Your podcast with myself, Lewis Roper, and Tom Mason and Matthew Simkis. How are you both doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Tom, how are you? We haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks. Yeah, not bad at all. Happy to see United losing last night. So, yeah, buzzing.
That was good, that wasn't it? How do you feel about that, Matt? Good evening. Finally won a trophy again.
Yeah, I'm pleased United lost because of all I've seen all week is United fans taking it as a formality that they've already won it before the game has started. So I'm quite pleased that Villarreal won in the end.
Yeah, we've got to say congrats to Unai as well. I mean, when he was in charge of us, yeah, we had, the fans had differences with him, but it's nice to see him progressing again, isn't it, with a team like Villarreal, and then they're in the Champions League. So well done to Unai, I say. What do you two think?
Yeah, I'm pleased for him. I mean, it didn't really. I don't know if it did. I didn't work out Arsenal. I mean, he ended up getting sacked, didn't he? So, then they want great performances, but then does that point more to the players and the manager? Does that mean we're in a worse position than we think? I mean, who knows? But yeah, pleased for Unai himself.
Yeah, me too. Didn't work out Arsenal. I think that was a lot to do with the language barrier, and just really pleased. He was always a classic guy. To be fair, when he left, he didn't badmouth the club or say anything bad against the fans, the club in general. So yeah, pleased for him.
Just maybe too many good evenings for Arsenal.
yeah, he became a bit of a joke character in the end, didn't he? Which was a bit sad, but yeah, no, he's obviously a good manager and he does well in his.
His start at Arsenal was great though. Like his first few games, like it was great, and then his first season wasn't bad, to be fair.
No,
I think his language barrier.
Yeah. But I mean, what we'll do is we'll jump into the where we left off on the last podcast. We discussed the West Brom game, and then we had 3 games coming up, and we predicted them games, and we won them all, 9 points.
Yeah, I predicted a 3-1 loss to Chelsea as well, so I'm pleased it didn't transpire.
You did, but me and Tom predicted, I think I predicted a draw, actually, 1-1, I said.
Yeah, Tom was very positive, though. I think he predicted us to win all the last 3 games like we did.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the Chelsea game. I mean, just briefly on the Chelsea game, then we can discuss the other 2 more in detail. How do you think we played in that game? I mean, when I watched it personally, we got a very, very lucky goal, and then we just shut up shop. It was a bit like West Brom with Sam Allardyce. But a win's a win, and our top 6 record's actually quite good, to be fair, looking back on it. I just want to know your take. What do you think, first of all, Tom?
Yeah, pretty much like you say, really. It's all well and good winning, 3, 4, 5-0, but every now and again I do love us when we shit our way to a result. Just, backs to the wall. There's something about winning like that as well that gives you as much joy as winning 3 and 4-0. But players committed, all look like they're dying for the cause and, throwing themselves in last minute challenges. So yeah, I enjoyed the win, obviously, but yeah, it was good to see him committed and playing for Arteta as well. Showed the players were still behind the manager, which was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think for all of Arteta's criticism, I think it's something he has done well, getting us more resolute, and but I suppose that's also why it's frustrating. Like the Villarreal semi-final, for example, that fight didn't seem to be there, but in other games it has. It's just very inconsistent. I suppose that's the problem with last year in total, isn't it? Just inconsistency.
Yeah, and I think he kept with his strongest squad as well for the last 3 games of the season. I mean, when we look ahead at Crystal Palace, I mean, we'll move on to that. I think he got his selection right again. And I think we played quite well against Palace. I mean, what do you two think in regards to that? I think we played quite well. Shut up shop again.
I mean, I think that's an interesting point that you raised. The squad changes. I mean, I think that in all 38 games last year, we only played the same first 11 twice. I think that just says everything you need to know about last season under Arteta. I don't think he knew his strongest squad at all, really. He was stubborn, continuing to play players like Willian when he had people like Pepe on the bench. I think if he could decide on his first 11 and move on from there, I think that'd be a big key to Arteta being successful.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's not so much stumbled across, but I think he's sort of got a settled team in his mind now over these last two and three games. Pepe obviously seems to have come into favour, and he's rewarding the manager because he's been excellent the last couple of games, scoring a few goals as well. So hopefully he'll push on next season. I just think Arteta now needs to obviously get his plans in place for the summer, which I think he already has. Got his targets in mind, get us settled, and the big advantage for next season, I think, will be the fact that we haven't got Europe, and he can pretty much play the same starting 11 for 38 games. I think that'll be a big help.
Yeah, it will, and I mean it'll allow us to concentrate on the English Cups as well, as opposed to having to think about 4 competitions. Might be able to nick a League Cup or something like that along the way.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, just coming on Tom's point about Pepe, I'll hold my hands up and say, look, I don't think he's done enough for his money value, 72 million. I mean, I watched him in his first ever game when he played for Arsenal against Liverpool away, and he took on Van Dijk and was running at people. I don't think he's done a lot of that. However, I'm going to hold my hands up now and say, the last few games of the season, I think he's starting to show what he's all about. I think he's been very solid, very, very solid. I mean, Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I think if you judge him purely on his goal contributions, goals and assists, then I think he's worth the money. But I think if he'd have been given more of an opportunity, I think he probably could have been our top scorer this season quite comfortably. Given if he'd have had 38 games, I think he'd have scored an absolute hatful of goals. But he's never really had that run in the team where he's started more than a couple of games and then gone back on the bench. I think he's a sort of player that needs to play consistently and be a regular starter to get to that sort of level. And I think he's got the ability. I just think he needs to be used right.
Yeah, I think he's like you said just then. He's a confidence player. He needs a run of games because he got a run of games towards the end of last season, and I think again he was one of our best players. Maybe the last 5 games, brilliant in the FA Cup semi and the FA Cup final. Probably even man of the match in the final, to be honest. I think, like you said, he is a player that needs a consistent run of games. As regards his price tag, we did overpay for him, but obviously that's not his fault. That's just market forces. He's never a £72 million player in the first place. But if he gets a consistent run of games next season and comes up, 20 goals and assists, again, he'll be pushing towards a sort of £50 million value, which I think that is his true value, to be honest, around sort of £50 million mark.
Yeah, and I suppose if finances in football are more realistic, that'd probably be a fair assessment, but everybody's overinflated, aren't they? That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he is doing well though on the wing there when he's given the chance. I mean, another person who scored in that Palace game, Willian, finally scored free kick. Good free kick as well, to be fair. But he wants out. Fabrizio put on Twitter that he even wants to return to Chelsea. I just want to make sure, that we do get rid of these sort of players if they're not 100% committed to Arsenal. I mean, Willian has had a shocker of a season, really. I don't know why he played him over like your Saka or your Pepe on the wing, if he did. But no, I'm glad that he may be going. I mean, yeah.
Back when we signed Willian, I saw the logic. He's been very successful in the Premier League. He's a winner. He's won a lot of trophies with Chelsea. And just before we signed him, I'm sure the season before last, when he last played for Chelsea, he was their player of the season. So I can see the logic behind getting him. What I do dispute is Arteta's unwilling, sort of unbending stubbornness to not play him even when he was playing poorly. Because I don't think that did the club or the player any benefit. I think it just led, the more he played and the worse his form was, I just think it further contributed to his lack of confidence and bad form, whereas maybe a break-in from the team and bang Pepe would have done both the club and the player good.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him go. Like you said, he was a good player, but he's the wrong type of profile of player we should be signing. He's at the wrong side of 30, massive wages. He could be taking up minutes from some of the youth players coming through.
And one position we're not really lacking is on the wing. I mean, we've got quite a choice on the wing.
Yeah.
And Martinelli showed that he's quite comfortable coming from the left-hand side to score goals as well. I mean, the goal he got against Palace, I mean, I know it was maybe a little bit of luck to it, but he knocked it past the keeper and tapped it in. It was a good goal.
Yeah, he got in there, didn't he? That's the thing. Whereas William,
it was the only one that made the run into the box for Odegaard's cross, and that's what we're missing because we put a lot of crosses in, and there doesn't seem to be anybody in key positions in the box.
No, just speaking about who'll put in the cross for that, Martin Odegaard. His season's come to an end with us. He's going back to Madrid. Do you think he's the type of player that we need and that we'll want to sign, or do you think we should look elsewhere? We're being linked with that Buendia from Norwich. Jose Mawar again's getting linked to ourselves. We've got obviously Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli. They can play across the front three. So do you think Odegaard could be the one that we need to focus on this summer?
It's tough because I think we really need centre midfielders more than sort of in that attacking position. But then you do need people because if Smith Rowe gets injured, for example, then you need people to come in for that. And I think what puts me off about Odegaard is if Zidane is looking for 50 million for him, then I think it might be worth a punt getting Buendia for slightly cheaper.
What is Zidane now, mate? He's leaving. He's leaving.
Is he leaving? Well, Madrid in general are looking for 50 million. Or allegedly looking 50 million. I don't think I'd want to pay that. Although there has been points in games where it looks like he really fits in. I mean, there's been some times when I've thought he reminded me a bit of late Mesut Ozil, where he didn't really influence the game, but there has been flashes of brilliance from him. So if we could get him for 25, 30 million, it might be worth a punt. But again, it might be worth spending that money on Buendia. It's hard because I don't see either coming in and starting ahead of Smith Rowe.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, really, with Odegaard? It's quite a small sample size. I mean, he was hitting form. Obviously, he was brilliant in the West Ham game, and then he got injured. They missed a few games, and it took him a couple of games to get back into it. So if we'd have seen a bit more from him, I'd be more sort of willing to risk a bit more money on him. But like you say, for 50 million, it's a big gamble when we're probably not going to have a lot of money to spend in the first place. Strengthening elsewhere could be a priority, and like you just said, Matt, we've got Smith Rowe, Saka can play across them positions as well. He's got, you can see the way he plays. He's got a lovely way to pass, and the way he moves on a football pitch, he has got class. But is he worth 50 million? It's really hard to say if he is.
And he works hard as well. It's like I've seen him a few times put the foot in, go shoulders to shoulder. It's not like he's afraid to do the dirty side of the game as well.
Yeah, he does. He does put his foot in. You're right. Yeah. It just depends on it. What Madrid want. If they don't want 50, 60 million, I would say no. But then, like you said, 25, 30 million. It's a bit of a no-brainer, really, for someone of his obvious ability.
I mean, I think ideally, I'd rather take him on another season-long loan and decide at the end of that. But then you run the risk of him having a blinder and having to pay.
There were 80, 90 million for him.
Yeah. So I think it's going to have to be a season loan with some form of price agreed before he starts.
Yeah.
The old champ manager technique.
No, that could be good. I mean, what you said about needing centre mids, I mean, Dani Ceballos isn't coming back. He's put his farewell message all over his socials as well.
I don't think that's a major loss. I mean, as good as he can be, I think.
Yeah.
You didn't see it often enough from him. I think it was more. He cost us. I think he's one player that you can say caused a lot of mistakes that led to us losing points this season.
Yeah, he was more of just a squad player, wasn't he? I don't think he was nothing major. I mean, I think we just brought him back on the merit of how he played in the FA Cup the prior season, and just see how it worked out. But I think, it's still a loss because it's still another player that, I think he showed willingness on the pitch. But again, today,
he definitely did. I just don't know if the Premier League. I mean, he said it himself. I don't think the Premier League's the right sort of environment for him to play in, and I think he's got the ability to flourish in the Liga, whether that be for Madrid or one of the other Spanish teams.
But then he got ran past by Villarreal, so I'm not really too sure, mate, to be honest. Tough one.
That was his biggest flaw. Once at his pace, he lacked that pace you need in the Premier League and that bite. You know, the quickness off the mark. He struggled with that. Technically, he's a good player, typical Spanish player, good on the ball. You know, can pass it around well, but there's just like he admitted, he just doesn't suit the Premier League. I don't think so. Yeah, no big loss really.
And then as well, there's rumours out today while we're recording that Roma are after Granit Xhaka. Mourinho really admires him. However, Arsenal are valuing him at about 30 million and Roma want to offer us around about 10. I think that's quite laughable to say the prices of some midfielders. I'd happily stick a 30 to 40 million price tag on him. I just want your take on that, Tom. We'll start with you.
Oh yeah, 10 million they can do one. Definitely. Mourinho can sling his hook. He's God knows how many caps he's got for Switzerland, but he's an established international player. And to be fair to him, he's probably one of our better, if not the best player for the last sort of half of that off season, really. Definitely in the 30 to 40 million pound price bracket. 100%. Yeah, 10 million is just a piss take, really. I think Mourinho's chancing his arm there a bit.
Yeah, he's one of the players that I like Xhaka quite a lot. I've been quite vocal about that, and I think I'd rather keep him and spend money on areas we really need. Because I think the problem with letting Xhaka go is it means we only have to replace him anyway. Whereas if we do get somebody like Bissouma, and we had the choice of Bissouma, El Neni, Xhaka, and Partey, I think that's a good midfield to be going with. But I'd rather be spending money on a decent right back. The one centre midfielder we do need, because I don't think Guendouzi or Torreira is going to stay. I don't think we'd want them at the minute, because Guendouzi again this week proved he's a big trouble causer with what he's been putting on Twitter and things like that.
I ain't seen that. What's he put on there?
Oh yeah, today, like kissing Unai Emery's ass, hasn't he? Basically.
Yeah, he's been basically saying that Unai Emery's brought the best out of him and basically indirectly making Arsenal look bad by saying that nobody really understands him apart from Emery and things like that. He's just been a bit. I just don't think he's ever going to fit in at Arsenal, so I don't think he'll stay.
So how much would you put on his head then? 15, 20 mil? Try and get double what we're paid?
Well, he's a full French international now, isn't he? So really, for his age and the fact that he's respected quite highly in the international scene, I think we want to be looking for 30 million for him, really.
Yeah. We that's something we definitely need to improve on as a club, is our selling. You know, take a leaf out of Liverpool's book. I mean, the money they got for some of their players. Was it 25 million for Dominic Solanke?
Yeah, and then they got ridiculous money for was it
Brewster as well?
Yeah. Ryan Brewster, yeah, exactly. And well in international. I mean, rumours going around at Nketiah, 20 million. I think he's the all-time record goal scorer for the England under 21s. He's 25 million minimum, should be 30 million definitely in.
Yeah, just the fact that his English should push his price up.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, if he goes to a team that's willing to play to his strengths, like maybe Brighton is linked with, he could probably score 10, 15 goals easy in a Premier League season.
He will at Brighton, because they do create a lot of chances, to be fair. That's one thing they've lacked, is a goal scorer.
Yeah,
I think he'll score a lot there.
I don't think he's the greatest finisher, but I think he's got a capability enough to score goals if he's given enough chances. So
100%, yeah.
I just don't think he's ever going to fit in with the style of football Arsenal play. I don't think we use that sort of striker. I mean, let's face it, when we bring Nketiah on, it's so he can run hard and just cause defenders problems as opposed to his goal scoring ability.
Yeah.
And we've got Balogun now as well, which will be pushing. So he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we do with Balogun, because I've got half a feeling we'll learn him out again. But
yeah, really.
But then that all depends on the Lacazette and Aubameyang, if either stay, if both stay. I mean, regardless, I'd personally keep him as a third choice anyway and just give him League Cup and FA Cup games, or run out in the Premier League just to give him some time. But I think we'll learn him out for the season and bring him into the squad the year after.
Yeah, I do. I think he needs to go out and have some minutes. I think the fact that we haven't got Europa League limits when we can play him.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were in that, we could have given him a good few starts in that even. Obviously now we've just got the league, the FA Cup, League Cup definitely. But if he at his development sort of stage, he needs to be getting regular minutes, I think.
Yeah, he does, and we need to continue this sort of learning to Premier League clubs, because that's where plays blood. And I mean, that's how Jack Wilshere getting loaned to Bolton, that was big for him. Willock's gone to Newcastle and had a blander, so he's back in the mix. Before he went to Newcastle, sorry, what was that?
Flying, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought you said why, but I think he's put his name back in the mix now to be back in the side for Arsenal side next year.
Well, that was my next question. Do they sell him or do they keep him? Or
it's a tough one. If somebody offers us 30 to 35 million, I think we'd be daft to turn it down, because this could be the hottest he ever is.
Yeah.
Because there's the risk there that we keep him and we end up selling him for 10 million next year because he has a bad season for Arsenal.
Yeah.
But do we play like Newcastle? That's what I mean. Like, he's playing well for Newcastle because he's given that free role. I don't see Arteta giving him that role if he played.
Yeah, they play better football than us, to be fair. So. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Arteta is going to approach next season. I'd like to think he's learned quite a bit this season. He's definitely changed the way he's wanted to play over the last 2 or 3 months, especially. But then you still have these games like I'll go back again to the second leg of the semi-final where we look like a side that we're fighting for a place in the final. It looked like we treated it like a training game. There was no urgency. There was no passion. I saw more passion in the league games that in reality meant nothing than in the semi-final of Europa League.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. Like say, Willock. I don't know where he would fit in, to be honest. Where would he play?
That's what I mean. And then the other thing is, now that he's had that sort of glory, will he be willing to be a sort of rotational bench player again?
I wouldn't. If I was him and I was played, like he has been for Newcastle, for the sake of my own career, I would be off. Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't be staying at Arsenal to maybe get one game every 4 games. I'll come off the bench now and again.
No, because I don't really see him sort of playing the centre mid role alongside Partey, and I don't see him ousting Smith Rowe from that attacking midfield spot, or Saka or Partey. Pepe or Martinelli. I think they're going to have them sort of positions nailed down next season. Yeah,
I do. I don't see him getting many games because we just don't play the way Newcastle do. And yeah, he's done well, but like you said, he could have a shocker next season, and his value could just plummet, and then we're struggling to sell him. So I think I'd cash in on him.
We need to get past the sort of late Wenger era sort of tense mentality of keeping players until the contracts run out and then losing them for now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wenger was brilliant at that one. So he always sold them a year earlier than most people would have, but he always knew when to sell them at the right time. When you found out he'd sold Overmars and Patine, you're like, what are you doing? And then they went downhill after that, really. Done it with a few people. That's what we need to get back to. Yeah,
we do. I mean, that sort of changed in his later years, and sort of since the early 2010s, it sort of changed where we've let players' contracts run down and just ridiculous. Like losing Ramsey on a free. What ridiculous things to let happen.
So many players, though. How many players have we let that happen to?
Sanchez was a big one.
Exactly, yeah. Sanchez. All right, we've got Mkhitaryan, but I'd rather have had 60, 70 million, to be honest.
Yeah. Even the 30 million they rated Mkhitaryan, I'd rather have that in the bank than Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, I would.
Didn't Van Persie go on a free as well?
No, it was about 24, 25 million.
No, did we actually sell him? Sorry.
It was cheap, though. It was real cheap.
I think he only had a year left, didn't he? And he came out and he said he wasn't going to sign a new contract because he wasn't happy with the direction the club was going. And then we sold him to United a week later for, I think it was 24, 25 million. They won them the league.
But didn't he change his mind before we let him go? And then we let him go anyway? Because I'm sure I've read something from Van Persie saying that he turned around to Wenger and said he was willing to stay. And Wenger turned around to him and said, tough for selling you to United. I'm sure I've read that.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly did.
But yeah,
I mean, just coming back to, I mean, we'll talk about transfers in a moment. And me and you, Matt, had some words on Twitter with some Tottenham fans from the last game of the season. If you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I couldn't even bother to respond to them in the end because they were just mugs, weren't they? They were just idiots.
I'm happy that we won against Brighton. You know, we got the 2-0 win. We just got through that game. But obviously Spurs got 7th, and Twitter was just going absolutely mental when I commented on these. Enjoy the Europa Conference League, what? Yeah, that was it. All calling us bums. Just everything on it, Matt. Like, I just don't understand why they're so hostile about it.
I'm still of the opinion I'd rather have finished 8th than get in the Europa Farmers League or whatever it's called.
Definitely.
I just think, I mean, fair enough. We could have maybe played our under-23 side in that competition and given them some game time. But I think where we are now, I think if it's going to be more negative to be in that sort of competition than being able to concentrate for a full year on getting a top 4 position.
That's the aim now, isn't it?
I think that's got to be the aim. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not unrealistic. I'm not expecting a title challenge in the next year or two. I'm not expecting to win the Champions League in the next 2 or 3 years, but we need to start getting back to sort of that regular 4th, 3rd spot finish just to start building. And that's all we can expect. It's going to be a slow process, but we need to start getting back towards them sort of Champions League places again. And then from there, we can think about maybe challenging the league again and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a building process, like you say. Challenging for the top 4, maybe have a run in, the cups, but build for getting into the top 4 regularly, and then build on challenging for the title. I mean, we're obviously a long, long way off where Man City are at the minute, but gradual process of slowly building a team and a squad to challenge them. That's what we need to be.
Our league form itself in the last sort of 3 or 4 months has been good. Our defensive record's good. There's a lot of positives to build on around that's sort of getting lost in all the negativity surrounding Arsenal at the minute.
Oh yeah, so I mean, you'll have seen that league table flying around saying that would be, I think, sitting second since Boxing Day on points.
Yeah, and I know loads of fans go, but it's a full season. But it's not the point that we're not saying it was poor before Christmas, but there's been definite improvement since the turn of the year.
Definitely.
And do you think that's with getting rid of Ozil off the books, Socrates, Mustafi's? I mean, he's even been released by Shell, can he?
Yeah, I think. Well, I suppose the fact that Emery's gone to Villarreal and won another Europa League sort of emphasises what he had to deal with the sort of the negative impact maybe players like Ozil and Mustafi had on the side.
Yeah.
So maybe Emery had more, and maybe Arteta's still got more to deal with than people give him credit for.
Well, he's already said, hasn't he, that he needs to be ruthless and get a few people out. I think it's certain that we know a couple of players that are top of that list, and William's one of them, and I think Bellerin, personally, as well. But there's players there that he definitely needs to still ship out. I mean, Kolasinac coming back off loan, he needs to go.
Yeah,
there's still a lot of work to be done.
I think as much as we need a backup left back for Tierney, I don't see that being Kolasinac.
No. I'd rather get someone off youth.
But it looks like Bertrand's going
Leicester, isn't it?
Leicester, which I'm not fussed about. I mean, it'd have been purely backup for Tierney and sat on the bench most of the season anyway.
I'd like to give a youngster a go, especially when we haven't got no European football. Give him the cup games and that, and try and keep Tierney fit. And
at the end of the day, we've got enough options up front to cover Tierney with Saka if we need to.
Yeah, and if Granit stays, he can. I know we've even got Cedric. We keep forgetting about Cedric. I know Arteta's not favouring him.
But I can't remember the last time we played a game.
No, but we have still got these players on our books.
The problem with Cedric is he's like one of the most predominantly one-footed players I've ever seen. He looks so uncomfortable at left back. Like he's just got no idea how to use his left foot to pass the ball or anything. That's the problem with playing him on the other side. At right back, he's good, but he looks so uncomfortable covering that left-hand side.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, how we've not really produced any fullbacks from the academy.
Yeah, especially when you look at historically when we had Curl and Clichy. I mean, don't get me wrong, Clichy wasn't a well-beat, but it was good enough.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I can't think of the last one that came through. It would have probably been Ashley Cole, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably. That's actually come directly through our training.
One in 25 years. Seems to be struggling at fullback, don't we?
Yeah.
To be honest, we're not great at even signing defenders, really, are we? Let's be honest.
I don't know. I think holding for 2 million's a bonus. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's no Tony Adams, but I think for 2 million, he's more than worth that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the mustache is, and I thought Socrates did all right for us. I'm gonna say he did all right for us. I'm happy for him winning the the league in Olympiacos, but
his first season was good, but I think he's another player, and I think this is a big criticism of late Wenger and beyond sort of Arsenal transfer things. We seem to always sign players a year or two too late.
Yeah, past the peak, wrong side of 30 or approaching 30. Their drive's gone for winning things in football. They're just looking for a nice retirement home, paying them good money, living in London. They're just not the type of players we need to be looking at.
Willian's the prime example because he had that drive for Chelsea because he loved the club. He came to us and he lost his drive for the game because it was nothing more than a payday for him.
Yeah, exactly. We need to be getting young players with lots of potential, high ceilings. So even if they don't make it, we can sell them on at a profit. It's the type of model that we need to be looking at, not bringing in these 30-year-olds, just like I say, looking for a nice big fat paycheck and a London lifestyle. It's not the way to build your team.
Yeah, you want players that generally look like they love the game. Like I know Pepe cost a lot of money, but he's got such a genuine appetite for the game, and that's what you want.
Yeah, you want a team full of Martinellis, that type of hunger.
Yeah,
young, something to prove.
But I mean, the plus side now is that the season's over. Can look ahead to the Euros and next season. I just want to give a mention to David Luiz. He's actually leaving us now. He's a bit of a character, isn't he? Like, he's cost us a few games, but you can tell he's influenced a lot of the players, even with his leaving speech and little things like that. Yeah, I'm sad to see him go. I would give him another year if it was offered, but I think both parties wanted to.
Signing Luiz has definitely given us more positives than negatives.
Yeah,
I think it was massive in the sort of change around of attitude of certain players in the dressing room. I think it was a big positive for the younger players. I think it was at points he was our best centre back. I think fair enough. He has a mistake in him every now and then, but most centre backs do nowadays. I just think because of how vocal he is, sort of in general, I think that's why it sort of zones in more on him. And I think the fact signing for Arsenal doesn't help because the media loves to point out every mistake Arsenal make.
Yeah, they're waiting for it, aren't they?
Yeah,
really waiting for it. But yeah, I think he's been, like you say, a bit more positive than negative. He made some high-profile mistakes. Got a bit unlucky with a few things as well, but he was also immense in a lot of games. FA Cup final, FA Cup semi-final last year was fantastic. A couple of times this year, he's been our main leader on the pitch. And you do hear he's really, really good with the youth, the young players in the squad. And obviously looking at them videos on Instagram, he's really well thought of and really liked. Yeah. He seems like a genuinely nice guy as well. So
it was never. Sorry, I was just going to say he was never afraid when he made a mistake to come out and say, "Held his hands up" as well. He was quite.
Oh yeah, he owned it, didn't he? He owned his mistakes. He didn't hide behind them, and again, that's a good influence on the youngsters. If everyone makes mistakes, you just got to put your hand up and say, "Look, I'm sorry, and I'll learn from it." So I think he'll be missed from that point of view, definitely.
And he's one of the sort of older players we've signed recently that does look to have genuinely tried for the club.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
So at the end of the day, it was only £8 million. I mean, you're not going to get infallible super defenders for £8 million anymore, are you?
No, I mean, like I said on his day, it was still one of the best in the league.
Yeah,
it really was. So yeah, it's and a chapter's closed, and another one will open up. They're bringing back Saliba.
Yeah,
I'm hoping so.
And I like Gabriel. I think we're for the first time in a long time, we'll look all right with our centre back options. Like I think Holding's proved in the last couple of months that he's good enough to hold down a place. I think Gabriel has. And then if we're getting Saliba back, I mean, that gives us 3 strong options. And I think Murray as well, I think he's good enough to play when and if we need him.
He's worth the money that we paid, wasn't it? About 4 mil, 5 mil, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was around that. So I think if we've got them I think there's not many teams that have them sort of options for decent centre backs as we have. I think that's one position we are strong in. I think if you're going to say where you need to buy players and where you need to improve, I don't think we should be considering getting another centre back in this season. I think we should give Saliba his chance, give Gabriel more game time. And I think the more, I don't know if everyone agrees, but I just think the more Holding plays, I think the better he looks.
Yeah, and another person that's left Arsenal as well recently, Steve Bold from the under-23s. What do you make on that? I mean, like I say, it was a bit before my time, really, supporting the Arsenal, but sad to see him go as well. We're making a few changes behind the scene as well. We've just brought in a goalkeeping coach from Southend, I believe.
Yeah, I read that,
yeah. What do you think about the Steve Bold situation then? I mean, I know he wasn't really performing for the under-23s, but big character, really.
Well, it was even when he was assistant manager, he didn't seem to be very vocal or animated on the bench. He didn't seem to challenge. I think it was number 2 under Wenger, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He just never seem to challenge. Like some number 2s, you see sort of discuss and challenge the managers. He just seemed to be, I don't know, a yes man. And for as good as he was as a defender, when he came as number 2 for Arsenal, he didn't really improve our defensive fortunes. So maybe just coaching or managing in his scene. I don't know.
No. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I didn't think there was any rumours he was going to leave. It was just basically Steve Bold has left. They're obviously going down a different route, getting in, more younger guys with a bit more of a knowledge of the modern game. I think, obviously, like you say, Steve Bold, from what you saw of him, he was never that vocal. I mean, it might have been behind the scenes, but from what you could tell looking on from the sidelines, he was always sort of just sat behind Wenger, not really getting involved that much.
Yeah, and the game's changed so much since when he was sort of a prolific defender and winning trophies and winning games for Arsenal. It's not close to the same sort of game as even what we've been celebrating this week, the anniversary of 89 Anfield. The game's changed so much since we won that trophy at Anfield, the league. It is difficult.
Tell you what a game that was. Even watching the 89 documentary, what a game.
Yeah, it still sends goosebumps for you even today, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? The greatest ever finish to a league title. Got to be.
Yeah.
People going about that Man City game and QPR, but QPR were relegation fodder. They weren't going for the league title like both, Liverpool and Arsenal were.
No, it's totally different.
Where were you two at the 89 game then? Was you at home watching it? Or?
Well,
we'd only been about 7, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But it was a lot older than that, that's all.
I just like it.
It striked down the M62 when we were 7 years old, so we could go watch the Liverpool Arsenal game.
No, but that was good times. And I mean, going on to the anniversary as well, they've just released the new away kit. I copped that straight away, Taney on the back. I think it's really, really nice, the new away shirt. What do you people think? I know Matt likes the mint green Puma, but we're coming away from that.
I think one thing where we are doing better than anyone else in the league is our kits. I think if the game is a trophy for having the best kits in the league, I think we'd win it.
Yeah, we would be champions of the kit league trophy, wouldn't we? Definitely.
Yeah, I think Adidas are knocking it out of the park every time with our kits. I think they've done really well.
That cannon's better than the badge, isn't it, on the new away kit?
Yeah, but isn't it the wrong way around from what the cannon used to be?
Yeah, I think it is.
I've read a few bits so that it's due to copyright or something. I'm not really too sure.
Oh, is it?
Our own copyright?
I'm not sure. Something to do with copyright.
It could be because want the cannon used on the Umbro kit. So do you reckon that's out to do with it?
Could be.
Maybe I'm wrong. But I know they've had to amend. Do you know that rumoured Adidas Lightning kit? They've had to amend that slightly because of some Nike infringement or something like that.
Right.
Have they? I was looking forward to that coming out. I bet Matt.
I think it is coming out, but I don't think it's an exact copy because of the fact Nike made the original kit.
I bet Simkis will be copying the mint green training top that's just come out as well.
Yes, I will. I'm going to be ordering that this week.
But looking forward to next season, I know, like I said, we've got the Euros now, so we've got a few players away. What do you think the main goal is going to be? Aside from bringing in, your players, what does Arteta look to do? Does he look to like trim his squad down? Does he look to experiment? Who does he bring in? Like what do you guys think needs to happen this summer?
I think from a very basic, he needs to be sure of his maybe not starting 11, because I think it's difficult to have a set starting 11 nowadays, but I think he needs to be aware of who he wants to play where and how he wants them to play. He needs to build an identity for the team. And I think if he's going to survive as Arsenal manager, I think he needs to hit the front foot from the start of the season and have us in the mix for top 4 from the very start. I don't think he's going to last another season where we sneak into Europe on the last day. I think he needs to be challenging. Yeah. I think come November, I think he needs to be comfortably 6 or above for him to keep his job, personally.
Yeah, definitely. He like you said, he's got to hit the ground running. He's had 18 months now to sort of get his eye across the squad and see what players he can rely on, players he can't.
And I know it's probably been a bit of a difficult. Sorry to interrupt, but I know he's probably had a bit of a difficult situation adjusting to it through COVID and stuff. But you're right; he's had a long time now to look at the squad.
Yeah, he has. I mean, with COVID, it was the same for everyone, though. It wasn't just Arsenal, was it? But I appreciate what you're saying. He came in December, and COVID sort of happened in the March. So, and I think he had about 3 months without being able to sort of train with the players and stuff. So he has had that in his favour, and we're going against him, should I say? But yeah, he needs to definitely make his mark on the squad, get us playing a style of football that the fans get excited about again, rather than this. It's all right getting results, but at the end of the day, if you're not,
we're not playing the best, are we? Let's be honest.
No, it's like the Brighton and Palace games. Fair enough, we scored plenty of goals in them 2 games, but it was just dull.
Yeah, if it weren't for flashes of individual brilliance, then there wasn't a lot going on. But again, is that down to the squad he's got at the minute? Give him the summer, bring some of his own players. He's going to live and die by this summer, basically. For me, he's got, I think I've said it on a previous pod, up in the first 15 games, up until sort of Christmas time. Like you said, he needs to be in and around the top 4 at that point. If he's not, then he's really got to consider if he's the right man to take us forward.
Yeah. And it might be the case that he's not at the time and he goes on to win a major trophy with somebody else, but that's in the future. We need to think about what's best for us at the minute.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I mean, I've been quite critical of Arteta, and now I've had a chance to digest the season, really, and looking at it, 6 points off the top 4 isn't bad. To say we've had some dubious decisions like the Wolves one with Louise, Pepe handball, when it hit the Burnley guy's arm, little things like that. I mean, I just think he needs to shift a few, bring a few in, maybe 4 or 5 players, give him till Christmas, but he needs, like you both said, I agree, he needs to hit the ground running, because if not, the fans are going to quickly turn on him.
Yeah, and it'll be more noticeable, because like next season we should be having more and more fans back in the stadium for every game. It'll be more noticeable how uneasy the fans are with him if he's doing poorly. So it's going to be even harder for him because he'll have that extra pressure.
Yeah. It was lucky for him, really, that fans weren't around in that October, November, early December slump that he had, because that would have been a toxic atmosphere at the Emirates. That wouldn't have been a nice place to go to.
And even now, for all the protesting that's going on, none of it's really aimed at him yet, but that could soon turn if he has a poor August and September, and we're back in sort of the 15th, 16th in the league again, like where parts last season. He's going to really struggle.
Yeah, well.
I just don't think there's room. If he wants to do anything, there's no room to have an October and November like we did last year. We can't go for that. We can't have that sort of run of form again. I mean, he's going to lose games, but he can't lose them like he did consistently in October, November, and December.
No. I mean, I think we'd lost, was it 10 games before the 10 of the year?
Yeah.
Which was it's unheard of, really, in that for Arsenal.
Did we finish on 13 or 14 losses?
It was 13, wasn't it?
Yeah, so all but 3 of them then came before Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So since Christmas, there has been a massive turnaround. Like I said, there's that league table floating around where we're finishing second, and I've seen another one the other day that, without the VAR decisions going against us, would have been, some 6 points behind Man City or something like that. So definitely improvement since Boxing Day, since he started playing sort of Smith Rowe really and Saka, and getting rid of the likes of Willian and dropping him. Yeah, it has made a big difference to us.
Do you ever sit back and think, what if we didn't have them players that came in? Well, could have been. Because until that Chelsea game, looking back now, we was in deep shit.
Oh yeah,
really deep shit.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's about the fact he signed these players. I just don't think he was brave enough to bench players like Willian when it wasn't working. So I think it was more of his own conviction as opposed to the fact. Because like I said earlier on, you can see his logic behind the Willian transfer. I just don't think he was brave enough to admit it publicly when it wasn't working.
Yeah, I think it tells the story of him being sort of like a rookie manager as well. He was relying upon the experience of the older players, the likes of, Cedric, bringing someone like that in, and Willian to sort of help him through in his first full season. And it backfired massively. Now, whereas an experienced manager would have thought, that's it, you're benched. He still sort of ploughed on with them, going down a dead end really with them for too long until his hand was forced and he started playing the younger players, and it turned it around a bit.
Well, yeah, because you do wonder what would have happened if some of these youngsters had come in and not excelled like they have. What would he have done?
I think he'd have gone back to using Willian, to be honest. I think it happens in everything, though, doesn't it? In all walks of life, you always go back to something you can rely on and trust, and something that's had a past history of doing the job you're asking them to do. I think he would have gone back to Willian, but luckily Smith Rowe came in and hit the ground running.
I mean, I suppose ironically, Willian's best performances have been when he's not been asked to play every week and has come into a bit more of a positive environment, but it was just too little too late from him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's gone. Sarah.
Yeah, I think he's gone. But just to leave this podcast on a light note, I want you to give me your best memory of this season just gone. Don't say something sarcastic like it's ended now, but just one of the best goals, memories, this season, and we'll leave it at that. I mean, Tom, if you want to start.
Yeah, for me, I think it was the Chelsea game on Boxing Day. I'll be honest with you, all Boxing Day, I was absolutely dreading it. I'm thinking we're going to get spanked. Arteta, it's going to be all over Twitter. Arteta's going to be under so much pressure if we lose this. It was such a big game, and just beating Chelsea 3-1, brilliant. Just always good to beat Chelsea, but in the circumstances, like I said, the pressure Arteta was under, and he went big and picked, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka in the starting lineup together for the first time, and it paid off. So yeah, that's my highlight of the season.
I don't know if this is my actual highlight, but a game I really enjoyed was the 1-0 win against United when Partey was just an absolute beast. And it just reminded me so much of what we've been missing for about 10 years in that centre midfield. I mean, not even since Vieira, but since Gilberto, really, we've not had that sort of reliable, dominant play in midfield. And that performance in the 1-0 win at Old Trafford, it was just beautiful. It was amazing. I know we've not really seen it very consistently since, but he's got it in his locker, and let's just hope he brings it more next season.
Yeah, I think mine was that second leg of Slavia Prague in the Europa League, when we just absolutely blitzed them in the first half an hour and won 4-0. I think that's my highlight. No, but I think my highlight is seeing players like your Sakas, your Smith Rowe come through and cement a place in the team. I think that's brilliant, especially coming from the Arsenal Academy and stepping up like they have done. Hats off to them. Hats off to Xhaka as well.
I think Smith Rowe especially. I mean, I know everyone talks about Saka, but I think Smith Rowe could be absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, and he's adding a few more you know, he just needs to add a few more goals, which he has done. And I think he could be definitely a top player. Definitely. Let's just hope Arteta don't make the same mistakes and sign people that are over 30 and wants to play him there. Do you know what I mean? Give the youngsters a go this season.
Well, I don't think he will. I don't think he'll be allowed. I'll be honest. I think the club realise that is not the way to go anymore. Well, I hope they have anyway.
I suppose let's just hope if the Kroenkes are going to stick around that Josh's word is true and they are going to pour some money into the club.
Got no choice, have they? I don't think they've got any other option to do that.
No, I think it's very make or break for the owners as much as it is for Mikel.
Yeah, definitely. It's crunch time. If they don't spend any money this summer and we start off bad, I mean, you think the process are bad now, they'll be even worse.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, one thing we don't need in the Arsenal fans base is more toxicity, is it? So.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Right then, guys, we're going to leave that there then for tonight. Just want to thank everyone out there that likes, subscribes, shares, comments. You know, it means the world to us. We're just a new podcast, but we're wanting to build up, especially for next season. So we'll be dropping a few little podcasts in between the Euros, building up for next season and discussing transfers as well. But thanks, Tom and Matt, for being on again. Pleasure.
No worries. Thank you very much. I'll see you all soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me.